I think it was. Well, it's so dang hot out. I was like, I don't want to wear my pants and dress shirt. Well, and I got to go to a baseball game after this, and
I did you last night. 1300.
did you ump?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was their second team. So it's not the creme de la creme. It's everybody else.
Ah.
At 13, they only get 5 runs an inning. And they switch no matter how many outs there are.
Ah.
That's how bad it is. They cannot throw a catcher and pitcher in the air. Either team. It was 36 to 15 in the last inning, and Foley scored player 11. And you can get as many points as you want the last inning. But I'm like, can we just throw it over the plate? And Wade Park had 8 people, so they took an automatic out every day.
Oh,
They got him out twice. And once was the last inning where they had to get 3 outs. I walk in there thinking, hour 15, hour 20 minutes, I'll be out of here. 2.5 hours.
Oh.
And what do you say as a parent? I mean, they hit it to the outfield, and one kid looks at the other kid like, are you going to get it?
Well, where's the coach?
Oh, it's just... I thought 10-year-old girls softball was bad. This was a new not just something I never experienced. Like, don't any of you guys play catch with your mom or dad?
Right, no one tries. Well, are they there because their parents made them, or do they want to actually be there?
Would you give up on your cushy chair?
Brandon. Yeah, it's too loungy.
They got the eye black on and the crosses and the glasses and
They're for real. Yeah, they don't lock in place. So every time I move, I don't.
You got the bad one.
Oh, is that you guys initiated me and gave me the bad one, or what?
One of our
It just
EDA.
it never stops. It just like lays back. Yeah. You can't lock.
Mine doesn't do that.
Oh, yeah, so I'm like, I'm not bothered. I don't want to look like I'm like laying down.
Yeah, that's bad form.
All right. No. Ready, Mayor?
sure. Trying to get my stuff down. It's 5:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We'll have mayor comments and open forum. If anyone has anything to speak about, please come to the podium, state your name.
Deborah Olson, 600 Dewey Street. I have 2 things. The first one is with the July 1st automatic notifications to citizens in Benton County. Is Foley being charged for their portion of the repair for the compromise of the St. Cloud sanitary sewer system? Because I noticed in our contract, we also have to pay a portion of any repairs. And then also I wanted to revisit, I know you're gonna talk about it later, about the snow fencing. And just a reminder that it's climatology, it is not motor vehicle related. And so the ground freezes and begins to snow way in October and thaws and more snow later in April. So just keeping that in mind when you're making that decision about the snow barrier fencing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak? Seeing none, Jared Vogie, Wastewater Regionalization Project.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Enclosed in your packet this evening is pay estimate number 19 for the Wastewater Regionalization Project. The pay estimate is the amount of $229,267.97. With that amount, that represents approximately 90% of the total project cost. We did have a construction meeting today. Many of you may have noticed they're working on the Lang lift station. Everything appears to be going really well there. Also indicated that they're looking to start that up in about 2 weeks. We're on the 23rd is the targeted date for that. We do have some chemicals being delivered tomorrow. So things are in motion and anticipating the startup of the entire system here in August. So with that, we are recommending approval of pay estimate number 19, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions that council might have.
So when you say startup, is that just testing and trial, or this thing's gonna get online finally where we're using it?
Testing of the pumps, generators, all that stuff, and making sure that the controls operate the way they're supposed to, the way the system was designed.
So what's reality? Are we looking at November, December where we're gonna start,
No,
or?
I would anticipate it well before that.
Anyone else have any questions?
The rehab of any land in front of other houses, that's all been taken care of, correct?
There are still a couple punch list items out there with the rain. We've identified a couple more of areas that have washed out. Talked about that at the meeting today, and actually going to do an inventory of the entire project here now that it's starting to dry up a little bit.
Yeah.
And contractor's well aware that they need to fix those. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for pay application number 19.
I move that we pay number 19.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you.
Jared.
Discussion on swim event at the Foley Pool, July 31. Approve indemnification agreement.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, we do have a representative here from the Booster Club. They provided some additional information as requested. So I don't know if you'd have any other additional questions or clarification that you needed to have. I put the indemnification agreement on there just because that was something that the attorney had recommended we look at doing just to protect the city's liability. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Nothing further to add.
Okay.
Mark, they wanted a picnic table, something maybe, I remember reading through that. That's doable?
Table and cans or something, maybe?
Or just the garbage cans and to block off the parking lot.
That's doable?
Doable.
Okay. Do we have to motion on any of this, or
Yeah, you
give us
should
our
motion
blessing?
approval of the agreement and the event formally.
First, I was wondering, is this something that's meant for the teens more, or is it family oriented and even little people can come?
All ages.
Okay.
Yeah. The swim team, we're hoping to have all of the team members there, to participate in, but yeah, it's for everybody.
I just want to say I'm impressed with what you've put together,
Thank you.
because you didn't do it in a ton of time. You did this and you did it well.
Thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Make a
the-
motion. Make a motion, we approve.
So you second it?
Okay.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Swimapalooza fundraiser for the Swim and Dive Booster Club.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. Adam Foss, Foley Fire Relief.
Like,
Hello. We just had two things. One was to consider an approval of our bylaw changes in the Foley Relief Association. According to our Article 10 in our bylaws, it says that any bylaw change we have to have approved by the city council as well. We've already brought it to the Foley Relief Association's attention, and so we just wanted to, it already passed 19-0, so we just need to accept that. That's our first item, and then our second item was the Relief Association was looking into discussion of a donation of another utility truck to the fire department, and if we did so, we were wondering if that would be accepted.
Let's take care of the first. Just for anyone else that doesn't know, what are you doing with this Article 7 with the death benefits? Just as simple as you want to be about it.
The state of Minnesota Auditor's Office said, hey, this is no longer the law, so we had to accept a new wording in it. Basically, the difference in this wording is we used to have it dependent on if you were in deferred or not as a member, how much you'd get paid, or your survivor benefits would get paid out. This changes it to there is no restriction technically. It is all or none now.
All right. So let's take care of that first, and we'll talk about the truck. Do we need a motion on that then to approve? All right. So I'm looking for a motion to consider approval of the bylaw changes for Foley Fire Relief.
I'll make the motion to approve the bylaw change in the Foley Relief Association.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Ashley, do you have any concerns with this?
I don't. I reviewed the agreement, and the language matches the statutory changes that were adopted this last legislative session.
Any other discussion on this? Basically, the numbers all stayed the same from what it looked like to me.
The numbers, like
Just
the only difference really is that it says if you die and you're an active member, you're allowed the entire amount now.
Okay.
Before it was, if you're still an active member, it's 10 years vested, and then steps up to your 20. At 10 years vested, you are fully vested according to the new change.
okay. Very good. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, go ahead with the truck now, please.
Yeah, the Relief Association's just been kicking around the idea of having another truck. It would be a new truck, so it'd be like a new unit. It wouldn't be replacing anything. It would just be to be a utility truck, as I submitted in my letter there. A couple of different uses that we see possible for it. So before we get in full action mode on moving that along, I just wanted to know if the city would take that donation if that were to come about.
And if we take that donation, Sarah, how do we go about disposing of it?
well, so when, we would accept the donation of the truck, and so then the city becomes fully responsible for it, which is why we provided the estimate of like the licensing and tabs, what we think it'll be. But, then it would become our asset under our control and ownership. Basically, the fire relief is just gonna use their funds to purchase it and then give it to us for our operation and as part of the overall fire department that we run. So I don't know what you say about disposal. I mean, we'd be responsible for all of it.
Is it something the city maintenance would use, or I guess I don't know what's their thoughts?
No, Adam has the list there, kind of more fire stuff, guys can, for tomorrow night, we're gonna use the city truck for our drill. We're doing a multi-agency drill, and things like that.
Hold on. So you have an old truck you wanna donate to the city, and then you're going to buy a new one, or are you talking about donating the new
No,
one?
we would donate a new truck.
Okay,
So
that's
like,
what I
what
thought.
Mark's getting at
Yeah.
here is that, like right now, tomorrow's drill, we're gonna need
Yep.
cones, barricades, that kind of stuff. We would have our own utility truck on the fire department side. We wouldn't have to, granted, it's very easy to get along with public works right now due to 3/4 of them are on the fire department. But what it is that it's a little bit easier. Middle of the night, it's happened before, we're at a big fire, especially, it always happens in the winter time. You got all this hose, 500 feet of hose, you gotta bring it back to the hall and start washing it. You gotta go to the city garage, somebody's gotta come back, or we gotta find somebody in the city, get them the truck. It help with cleanup a lot is the main objective there.
Right.
And then, yeah, we really see other reasons too, that's the reason the letter is presented.
So the Fire Relief Association is purchasing a truck and then they're going to donate it to the city.
That's what
And,
we're looking
and
at,
that's
yes.
that's a pretty common cadence?
Yeah, it's happened before, yeah.
All our grass rigs, our Unit 6, our Unit 7, that's been donated from the Relief Association funds, the truck has.
Yep.
Not the light bar, none of that stuff.
Yep.
And then Unit 8, same thing, you guys just approved Unit 8 recently.
Yep.
That's been donated from the Relief Association to the city.
Yeah.
This is the same thing as far as that goes, the only difference is we had a Unit 6, we had a Unit 7, we have a Unit 8, we don't have a Unit 9 per se.
Sure.
So we are donating something completely new.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I get it. They wanna buy a new truck and they wanna donate it to the city, so it's our responsibility to, insure it?
Insure it, and then I'm sure they'll come back with an estimate on the equipment if they're asking us to purchase the equipment side. But it would just be insurance, the equipment, any maintenance, stuff that would come out of the operating of the fire. And then I just put in there too to make sure we have room for it, cause we wanna have these vehicles stored inside and, in good shape.
Is that
so
state contract? Or can you buy them
I don't
separate?
remember what the bid was, but once again, this is just for the action of going ahead and you consider buying it. We did not buy one yet, just
Okay.
so you're clear on that too. So we don't have a final price and that stuff at all.
It is really a donation, so it would be their purchase, it would not be our purchase.
So we need a motion or just their blessing?
Their blessing, I think, is fine right now. I think they just wanna make sure that the council is okay with this before they go down the road of actually getting some firm numbers.
Anyone opposed?
Hey, thanks.
Go forward. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
EDA report, downtown facade grant program application.
Do you wanna take that one,
Oh,
or you or
sure.
Deb?
We had a EDA report, it was, an upgrade to their grant, purchase for their sign. It costed a little bit more, it still falls in the parameters of the grant, application and stuff. We didn't have any issues on it.
So they, help me out, was it 5 or 10,000?
So they're eligible for up to 5. They have not reached that 5,000 with their first application.
Perfect.
So there is room for the additional $451 that they're requesting. And EDA had no concerns.
Is this a motion item?
Yep, you'll need to approve that officially.
Anyone like to motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the EDA recommendations.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Is it just for this business?
Yeah, this one, the request is just an addition for the Benton abstract.
Okay.
Yeah, we may have more applications coming in yet.
Very good.
In the future.
Any other discussion? Motion's made and seconded. All four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing, cannabis moratorium. Ashley.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we discussed last meeting about a possible interim ordinance or moratorium on the sale, manufacturing, and distribution of cannabis within the city of Foley. As you're likely aware, the state legislature passed new legislation that will allow the sale of cannabis within cities. There's nothing cities can do to prevent the sale from happening. However, reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions can be adopted. So zoning ordinances can be adopted to place appropriate restrictions on where cannabis is sold, and perhaps performance standards as well to make sure it's cohesive with the neighboring properties. The purpose of this moratorium would essentially be to put a pause on any applications that would come through the city of Foley to make sure that we have the appropriate licensing schemes that is required under the state and appropriate zoning ordinances. The state of Minnesota has tasked the Office of Cannabis Management with coming up with certain rules and model ordinances that cities can consider adopting on the model ordinance side to ensure that we are in compliance with the state statute, but also protecting the planning processes for cities. So tonight, we are asking the council to consider ordinance number 462 by opening up a public meeting for any comment and then considering action on the ordinance, and I'm certainly available for questions.
Is there a cannabis management authority in place?
In Minnesota?
Yes.
So it's the Office of Cannabis Management. There are individuals appointed to that office. They are going through the rulemaking procedure at this point, so they haven't released their official rules. They have started to release certain model ordinances, and I am working through the process of looking through those. I'm also working with Benton County too on a potential licensing scheme along with Chief McMillan on what that would look like.
Would the public hearing be a different day, or would that be
Nope,
now?
it would be today. So if the mayor would entertain it, he could close this meeting, open up the public meeting then.
At 5:48, I'm gonna close the open meeting and open up a public hearing for this ordinance number 482. Any questions from the public? Does anyone have anything to say on this? Please come up to the podium and state your name and address.
Hello, Paul Strang, 351 Dewey Street. Is that all right for an address?
Yes.
Okay. Just wondering on the moratorium, on a time frame of how long this moratorium would be in place?
It would be till January 1. I would assume from what I've read on it, or December 31st of this year.
Yep.
January 1st would be.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. So per statute, that's the longest it can last. The city council can certainly lift it if it chooses to do so before then.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Deb Olson, 600 Dewey Street, and this is not including for personal use, only for those sale and licensure of cannabis, correct?
It'd be for the sale, manufacturing, and distribution.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak? All right, at 5:50, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
So then we could motion to approve ordinance 482 and put the moratorium in place?
Correct.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance 482.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I am totally against this because the state has no idea what's going on or has anyone in place to make any decisions on this, so having a moratorium on this is not in my best interest at all.
Mr. Mayor, if I can comment on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Part of the reason that this got brought to the city council's attention is actually the state is starting to accept applications for the manufacturing of certain cannabis applicants. So if they meet a certain definition, they could apply to start manufacturing cannabis within the city of Foley.
Okay. Anyone else have any discussion on this? Hearing none. Motion's made and seconded. All four say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
Nay. Motion does not carry. It's gotta be 4/5, correct?
4/5, you wanna go on that?
4/5 would be the summary publication part of it. So this would just be a majority to pass the moratorium. The council then can choose to decide summary publication. So at that point, it can be a separate vote on if the council would choose to summary, or to move forward with summary publication.
And summary publication is after something's determined?
Correct. So summary publication is is exactly as it sounds. It's a summary of the ordinance that has been passed by the council. It's a way that the council can efficiently distribute the information of the ordinance instead of publishing the whole entire ordinance.
Very good. So ordinance 482 passed 3-2. Is there any other we have to discuss on this?
I mean, just out of curiosity, you're for or against the cannabis?
I'm against this moratorium.
The moratorium is allowing us to prevent anything willy-nilly happening within the city before the rules or things are actually made available.
Correct.
Well, regardless of this moratorium, we have to let at least one sale in the city, regardless, right?
So the city cannot prevent the sale of cannabis. However, since this moratorium passed, now applications will not be accepted to allow for the sale, manufacturing, or distribution within the city until January 1st or until an earlier date if the council decides. And at that point, or during this interim period, the council can choose to enact a zoning ordinance if it would like. And once a zoning ordinance is enacted, any applicant would have to meet the zoning ordinance and standards of that zoning ordinance in order to sell cannabis within the city.
So, I mean, to me, the moratorium is to allow for us to be able to appropriately plan for when somebody applies, because it's going to happen, that we have the appropriate things in place prior to January 1st, so it doesn't just happen willy-nilly.
Okay.
Exactly, yep.
Any other discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor, would you like to consider the summary publication? If we do not want to do the summary publication, I would have to publish the entire ordinance in the paper. So just recognizing there's a significant cost to that as well. Completely up to you. If you'd like the whole ordinance to go, we can do that, but that's essentially what I would have to do. So it would be quite a large publication and cost to the city.
So, I thought we had to vote on the summary publication.
It's two separate votes. So even you took a vote on the ordinance, which I understand passed 3-2, and now another vote can be held to vote on the summary publication. And just because you voted one way on the ordinance does not mean you have to vote the same way on the summary publication.
Help me understand what that is. So if we vote in favor of a summary of publication, that's when you'd have to publish the ordinance in the paper?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's this right here. So if we vote on a summary publication, this is what I will publish in the paper. If you vote against the summary publication, I publish the entire thing.
Yep.
Okay.
And we have to publish either the entire thing or the summary publication per statute.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's not that we don't make it available, we just put it on our other website and we just don't put the whole thing in the newspaper. We put the summary, they can go to the website or they can stop in here and get a copy, whatever they so choose. It's just a way to kind of efficiently notify the public.
So if you vote for this moratorium, you still have the process of voting no for the licensing somewhere down the road.
We can't vote no on the licensing. We have to allow the sale of cannabis within the city. The city does have the ability, though, to adopt a zoning ordinance that can ensure that the sale of cannabis takes place in a neighborhood or in certain areas of the city that are cohesive with other neighboring properties. But through our zoning ordinance, we can't outright eliminate the sale of cannabis.
So Ashley, would you say commercial would be the ideal location for sale?
I think a lot of cities are considering commercial or industrial zoning districts for the sale of cannabis.
Okay.
We'll also look at the feet restrictions from schools and other child-centered organizations. The reason I say we look into it is we can't make it so restrictive that we're banning cannabis, but we can set up reasonable restrictions.
And that's gonna come before us when?
Right now, I'm working with Benton County. They're going to provide me with their ordinance. We will likely look at that because we are in discussions with Benton County about having the county handle the licensing for the city. We're still working through the details on that, so we don't really have enough information to present to the council at this point about what that would look like. But the idea is if we can have similar ordinances, that may help with the efficiency in licensing. But the council can certainly choose a different zoning ordinance than what the county is doing, and we will certainly be bringing it to the council. I've been working with Sarah, we'll likely be bringing it to you next month, just the first version of it. That's not likely gonna be the final version, but as part of this moratorium, we are studying the zoning ordinance, and we will be having discussions about the zoning ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, the county is considering a similar ordinance, next week at their meeting.
A moratorium.
A moratorium for the same reason, to study it and to get some more information so that we can put proper regulations.
Okay, so now we gotta go ahead and motion to put this in the paper, or just?
Yeah, to accept, we need a forfeit to do a summary publication in the paper. So there would be a separate motion approving the summary publication.
So I'd entertain a motion.
I motion to enter a summary of publication for 482.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion carried. Any other discussion on this? Update on welcome sign, approval to proceed.
Would you like to go, or would you?
Sure. Provided was the welcome sign estimates for project construction. She is still waiting on a couple of the contractors as far as updating bids, because it was quite a while ago that she got these. She doesn't anticipate them changing much. There was a shortfall in the Central Minnesota Arts Board grant funding. So the grant we submitted, though it was accepted for payout, there was not enough money at the end to be able to pay out amongst the applications. Only 5 applications actually ended up getting funding. So with that, the Economic Development Committee reached out to the Foley Chamber, the Foley Lions Club, and Falcon National Bank to ask for $5,000 donations to offset what we anticipated or somewhat expected from the grant, and they all willingly said they would donate. So between that and the money that we budgeted for the sign from the city, that puts us within our ability to then proceed with construction of the sign. And so looking for official, I think, just approval for us to officially move forward.
Yeah, so just to add, I did just do a resolution for the official approval, and I was in conversation with our auditor too to make sure that they were satisfied as far as quoting and those requirements. But since we did a solicitation for designs and worked through a process on how we made this selection, we should be fine there. But this kind of outlines the whole process that we went through. And so with the city funding and the donations, resolution would approve the project not to exceed the budget of $45,000, which would be the total of the donations and the budgeted city funds. If there were any change to that, we'd have to come back to this entity. So a motion for the resolution would accept the project then.
I move that we have a resolution approving the welcome sign project.
Second.
All right, motions are made and seconded for resolution 224-16. Any other discussion?
Everything that's highlighted here, that's you're waiting for quotes on, I take it?
Yes, just updated.
Yeah.
I mean, they shouldn't change much.
Hopefully they go down.
Hopefully they go down, I mean, quite honestly.
Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discussion adopting resolution 22414 and 22415. This was talked about last meeting, correct?
Correct, we had the hearing last meeting. This is just the formal adoption of the findings and the reasoning for the, issuance of a fine for these entities. So, they were approved for licenses, but we need to now go back and just issue the fine, for those reasons that are outlined in the resolution that we discussed last meeting. Did you have anything to add?
Nothing further to add.
Okay.
So we're making a motion to move forward with the fines, essentially?
Correct.
Do we have to do them separately or or?
Doesn't matter.
You could do them together, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Anyone have any objections to doing them together? Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to, adopt resolution 2024-14 and 2024-15 of the findings for the liquor license violations.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, any other discussion? Have either of the businesses had any comment on this?
No, they were both served notices of the hearing and of the violations, and did not appear. So, we'll send a letter with this fine, you know, and if we don't receive prompt payment, we'll have to follow up, but, they are aware of, the issue, so.
Thank you, any other discussion? If not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. Department reports, City Attorney Ashley.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we heard earlier and what's been briefly discussed at prior meetings, there's been some discussion about amending the city's zoning ordinance to accommodate some changes to snow fencing. And looking at our zoning ordinance, any changes to the zoning ordinance not initiated by the planning commission have to be referred to the planning commission for recommendations. After they're referred to the planning commission has 60 days to make that recommendation, then bring it back to the council for a public hearing, and ultimately the council then would get to decide on any zoning ordinance amendment. So that's what I would recommend that the council do at this meeting, is refer the proposed amendment to section 6, specifically fencing of the zoning ordinance. The council could certainly put input into any amendments that they'd like to see, allow the planning commission 60 days or sooner to make those recommendations, and then bring it to the council for further consideration in a public hearing.
Does anyone have any thing they would like to add or subtract from this snow fence ordinance?
Sounds like we just wanna modify some dates to make it more realistic with weather, which I'm fine with.
And definition.
Yep.
Snow barrier.
Yep, sure.
Okay. We don't need a motion on that, just send it to the planning commission?
I think a motion would be helpful, just to refer it to the planning commission.
All right, looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion to refer it back to planning commission.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, any other discussion on this? If not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Anything else? Motion carried. Anything else for you, Ashley?
I have nothing further, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Police Department, Kitty McMillan.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you received the stat report for the month of June. We had 426 calls. Comparing to the 2023 of 387, we are up. Some of the things to look at: driving conduct, equipment violations, and people driving without a valid license are all increased. Our medicals and welfare checks are up. You can see the city ordinances are extremely up. That's tall grass. People need to mow their yards. Yes, it's been raining, but we still, in between the rain spouts, we get in there and we mow it.
So are these knock on doors, or are these just letters being written on these ordinances?
No, we send out the letters. Our procedures are I drive around and look at the ordinances, and then I send the list up to the front office, and they send out the letters for the violations. That is our procedure.
So it's really not I wouldn't consider that a call.
Well, it's everything that we do is documented, and so that falls underneath our calls, because everything we do has to be documented. And it's my time doing it, and so it does fall underneath the calls. And disturbing the peace are up, and that's mostly fireworks, loud parties, intoxicated people. Some other things I pulled from last year at the end of June, and so we had, in 2023, our end of June numbers was 2,234, and the end of 2024, June, is 2,358, so that's 124 more calls in 2024. Any questions about the stat report? Okay. I also have, we have our third, I believe it's our third root beer float social, this Thursday, July 11th, from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. here at City Hall. The sheriff and I will be serving up root beer floats. It's for all ages, free of charge. Make sure you come down. I have lots of pallets of root beer that were donated by Viking Coca-Cola, so look forward to that. Part of the sheriff's office and the Foley Police Department, this is, I lost track of how many years we've done PALS, which is Police Activities League. Our last night is also Thursday night. We average about 22 to 24 kids each Thursday night we've had. So it's been a great group. So that will be wrapping up here for the year. And then we have the squats. I've been email contacting with the person through Southgate Leasing Services. I'm gonna be talking with him over the phone tomorrow. He's been out of state for work, so we had a little bit of delay. And so I'll be looking at getting different numbers for that and seeing what options they have for possibly leasing a police vehicle for next year. Within the last week, the 2019 squad car has gone into the shop twice for the check engine light flashing, which flashing's bad. For the first time was for a spark plug and coil needed to be replaced, and then the second time was the ignition coil. That has gotten all repaired and is back in service. And now I just have with the 2021 squad, we are having body camera syncing issues that I've been trying to fix. So hopefully I'm waiting for 2 more parts to come in so I can fix that. So other than that, we're keeping going. If you have anything for me?
On that leasing.
Yep.
Other departments are looking into that, or are they leasing at this time?
Yes, City of Royalton, Jason McDonald, he is the chief of police for Royalton, and he also works part-time for us. He's one who brought this to my attention, that they are next year are leasing their squads through this company, and they specialize in small agencies is one of their things that they focus on. So, and they are looking at, he told me for a brand new Dodge Durango, they're going to be paying $1,800 a month. So.
I seen the city of Sartell is getting 4 electric squads, and they're being granted on that, so I was curious if that's something. Why are you shaking your head no?
Because I'm not sure how that will work. All those batteries, I mean, we have a hard time with batteries in our squads now. I'm not sold on that yet.
I think we have a hard time with brakes and keeping the motors running, not the batteries.
Well, the electric cars will still have brakes.
But I'm first-hand knowledge of this. Electric vehicles and the little buses we rode around in the cities, when you take your foot off the gas, it self-brakes. You're not hammering the brakes.
Yeah. I'm not sold on electric cars, especially police cars.
Yeah, I think it's a good option to look at if there's money available through these grants, because there's, what was it, let me get my numbers right in my head. 10 million a year for the next 4 years. So if we can get a vehicle for considerably less, that might be a very good option.
Yeah, it is, and then but finding time to apply for those grants too is.
As an electrical engineer, I can tell you the batteries are still not appropriate for Minnesota. It's a fact, whether we like it or not. And if you ask people why they get rid of their electric cars, it's because they can go less than half of the miles in the winter as opposed to in the summer. That could be a major problem for a police department, I would think. And that's just an electrical engineer telling you what problems they have. It sounds very good.
It does.
And I admit, maybe 10 years down the line it will be. It's not right now.
10 years down the line, there won't be a grant for it.
Out of curiosity, just something to think about, I know some guys that work at the U of M, does Excel actually have the power grid in town to charge these vehicles quickly enough?
I don't know
No.
that right now.
I'm not, that's neither here nor, just something to think about when you're thinking electric for any public utility is does the power company actually have the available power to charge those vehicles in a timely manner?
Right now, you have to go to the middle of St. Cloud to charge. And putting in a station here, which would be a necessity if we had electric squads, is not cheap.
All right. Anything else for Katie?
I would be interested in seeing numbers,
Yes.
pro and con.
Yep, that is what I'm, that's hopefully this next month it slows down a little bit and I can
Yep.
start working on the budget
Yep.
items, yes.
So 1,800 a month is a lease, you said?
That is what Royalton told me for a Dodge Durango, yes.
Okay. Anyone else have anything for Katie? Thank you. City Engineer Jared Griffith.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight in your packet, I have a couple documents in there for you to look at tonight. First being an updated estimate for the 2025 street and utility projects based off of the comments provided by the council and also the comments given back by our city, our county when we had our meeting in the month of June. We have adjusted the estimate. Essentially, it's pretty much a wash. The city portion went up about 39,000, and the county went down about 34,000. Just to reiterate what went into that, we widened the streets on Murphy, kept Parent the same, removed the sidewalks between 4th and Broadway on both Parent and Murphy. The county wanted to narrow their 50-foot current footprint of 4th Avenue to 42 to match 3rd and 4th. And then they wanted to add an overlay portion on the south of the box culvert to tie into that new bituminous that we installed, was it back in 16? So, like I said, this updated estimate reflects all those changes that were talked about at that meeting, previous meeting. So, with that, then the second document. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Do you have any questions about the estimate? No. Okay. Then with that, the second document in there for your consideration is the design agreement for this project, design and bidding services essentially, which would include SEH doing all, putting the packet together for the construction documents, doing the TOBO survey, and then assisting the city with any bidding that we may or may not be, advancing to in the future. Things that are not included in this would be then the construction services, whether or not we move forward with the project or working the project in the future. So those will be brought to you at a later date. With that then, I guess the lump sum fee is presented in the agreement there, and this is up for your consideration tonight.
And that's whether we do the project or not do the project.
Yeah, this is for design, correct, yep.
So Mr. Mayor, Council, this is what, essentially that work will start, and then we get those monthly invoices, from the engineer, for that work. And you'll see that show up over the next how many months that it takes you.
Between now and January?
Yeah, so.
When would the assessments go into place after the project?
Yeah, so currently the schedule is to have that public hearing and assessment hearing in roughly October time frame of 2025. So after the first construction season, yes.
Okay.
I'll also add, we typically do have expenditures that occur before the project is actually finally approved, which would be when you like award the bid. Some of those costs are reimbursable by the debt service, you know, so that we can obtain back those costs associated with the project once we issue bonds. But if we would not go through the project, the city would essentially still have to just fund or cash flow this until, you know, for some reason it delayed a year or whatever, depending on bids. But this does not say you're doing the project for sure, it is saying we're moving to the next step.
So we're looking for a motion on this? Do we have to do it separately or together?
Yeah, just the agreement.
Oh, just the agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the 2025 street utility agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve 2025 street and utility improvement design.
Motion's made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second, any further discussion?
So if for whatever reason we end up not doing it, I mean, are those plans good? If we circled back 4 years from now, would we have to redo the entire thing and replan the project again and pay for it again, or would that just be good to go for when we decide to pull the trigger?
No, this should be good for you. I mean, there may be some minor tweaks that need to be made depending on existing conditions that may change between now and whenever we decide to move forward. But no, these plans should be good for you unless, so.
Any other discussion? If not, all for say aye.
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 Against? Motion carried. Jared, you got anything else?
That is all on my list for tonight. So, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I don't know if mine is for you or if it'd be for Mark, but the pedestrian crossing signal, as far as like insurance, is that you? Okay, all right. Moving on.
Give it to Sarah.
Okay.
It's in insurance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Fire, Mark Pappenfuss.
I think what I have has been covered, so I don't have anything tonight.
Good, I have something for you. I've now witnessed it twice, somebody using the PED signals, the one that is got both there. They push the button and nothing happens. Just wanted to point that out.
On which intersection?
So
It'd be
Broadway or roundabout?
It'd be Broadway, the Broadway on the north side. Just something I've witnessed.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else for Mark?
Not that I don't think it matters. Did you press the south side button too? Does that work?
I did not.
Okay. I'll check after this meeting then.
Administration, Sarah Brunn.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, we have spent a lot of time working on the software conversion, and a lot of those things related to that, and we'll get to that one item later. Also just want to remind you that elections are coming up quickly, so we've been doing training on that. We also train the majority of our office staff too to have backup because we do anticipate a strong turnout for this election cycle. Filings for the city positions will be opening up at the end of the month. So you'll see those in the paper next week, and then we will start advertising those as well on our social media. So you didn't miss it. It's just we don't have a primary, so our filings do not occur until the end of July through mid-August. The other thing I wanted to bring up, we'll be working on budget, and you'll see that. Just to remind you of some of those meetings that are upcoming in August. But again, we have to get some of these things settled in the new software before we can move to that next step. So it'll be a scramble, but we'll get there. But then the item in the packet I wanted to bring up is that they're doing another joint meeting of the cities, townships, and county. And so they had asked us to find a rep or reps to attend the meeting. It's a good meeting. I know they've had a lot of success. They wanna hear updates from the cities, the townships, and the county, and it's just a really good, opportunity to share what's happening in our community. So I guess I'll leave that to you, who you would like to go. They do ask that we don't send everybody just because of space issues.
Well, Jeff and I attended WATAB, so if I would say the other three should have first chance. July 22nd?
My calendar doesn't look good.
Okay. Gary,
You gonna,
am I gonna drive you?
huh?
July 22nd, do you wanna attend?
Well, yeah, but the whole council doesn't have to go, do they?
Correct, that's why we're saying
Yeah.
these
no.
three first, and then if it's not
We
good-
attended last year.
They'd rather have just one or two anyway because of, yeah, and I'm fine with whoever
Are you gonna go?
chooses to go. I thought you and Jeff were going.
We went to the last one.
No.
We can go, but.
No,
No?
no.
Right now, I'm waiting to find out if I'm having surgery
Okay.
on my arm, so.
Jeff?
I'll go.
If there's room, I'll go. If not, if someone else can go.
Okay, and that's fine, we'll just plan on Jeff, and if somebody else can, reach out to me and let me know. I may or may not have a conflict, so I'll probably let you guys handle it, which I have in the past, and it's been great, it's a good elected officials meeting. Okay, that's, all I have for now, unless you have questions for me.
Anyone have questions? Old business discussion update on sewer rate lock ordinance.
So this just was brought back up because, I had a couple council members reach out that they wanted to discuss this a bit further. I know there was a question on, and also Stacy's here, and she is like the subject matter expert when it comes to this. She has spent so many hours of her life working on this the last couple of weeks, so, chime in, Stacy, if I say something incorrect, but we did do some estimates on what it would cost if we were to do a lock or the lower of the two. You know, if you had a lock of the January usage or the actual June usage, and you did the lower of the two. We weren't able to run it with the May numbers, but we were able to run it with the June usage numbers. And based on the current one, we came up with about an additional $4,500 worth of loss, using that change. The other thing I want to point out when we did our numbers today is that we're showing roughly 25% decrease in usage compared to this month last year. And I know we had talked about how our pumping is down quite a bit. Would that be reflective of your numbers as well?
We're 7.7 million down this year on our pumping from last year, for the year. 2.2 million last month alone. That's pumping, which isn't always the same as billing.
Right.
But it does reflect that last June was a significantly higher use of water and, you know, and sewer charges resulting as well. So, the number I want you to remember is about 4,500 is what we estimate in addition. Right now, the revenues, they are holding okay, even though we've had that less, you know, of the billable charges, but we also increased rates. So, we anticipated that. So I guess the question for you, do we want to consider the lesser of the two? And if we don't consider that, what are we doing with the other issue of new people that move in, water leaks, some of those other extraordinary circumstances?
Well, I let some know my feelings, that I was able to get a hold of. We're not looking to change ordinance necessarily, we're just trying to maybe find resolution for the situation. I know that, yes, we had a wet month, okay, it may have been different if it was a dry month, but the 4,500 that Sarah called out, to me, it is dollars that we wouldn't have otherwise received. So to me, I don't view it as a total loss. It's nothing. It was never used. So my thought or my my instinct would be to go for the lesser of the two to help correct or find a resolution for, you know, the amount of folks that were affected negatively, which wasn't the intent. And again, I understand that with any change or ordinance or thing that we do, there's bound to be people affected, maybe not in the best way or the way that we had hoped. That's expected, but this one seems larger than what seems reasonable for us to make a decision on.
Anyone else have comments on this?
I do believe we have to come up with something for people that move into our community, move into a new house, whatever, and all of a sudden that water bill comes and it's into their summer rates, whatever you wanna call it. And now they're paying $300 a month for somebody else's mistake. We've got to address that issue. It's just not right.
And we can do that without changing ordinance?
We can talk about that.
So the ordinance will have to be changed to reflect the policy that the council wants to move forward with. But we do have to deal with the practicality that there's going to be this interim period before the ordinance can be amended and what we do with the bills in the interim. So if the council gives us direction that they would like to consider an ordinance amendment, we can perhaps look at if the billing cycles in the interim can be matched up with that. And then we would, at a future meeting, amend the ordinance to match what is happening in practice.
So basically, we're looking at if a new tenant, I guess is probably the right wordage, new landowner, how do you wanna phrase it, new property owner? Property changes hands.
That's certainly the property owners that we're trying to capture with the language amendment, but the specific language that would be changing is bolded in the ordinance provided to the council. So there may be others that would benefit from this ordinance change, so I can't say it would only be individuals that are moving into a home, but those are the residents that we're trying to capture with this ordinance amendment.
It's capturing both. It's also capturing, because with the correction even, we had, how many, was it 281 accounts? Okay, 281 accounts adversely affected. We basically flopped the people that were affected. No matter what, with the error or not, there was gonna be an issue of 280 some accounts negatively affected. This issue would capture the people that are like new coming in, you know, cause it would just then default to their actual. But it also would correct those people that were adversely affected with the lock rate, because their lock was higher than their actual.
Do you feel if we would have used the correct January billing, we wouldn't even be in this discussion right now, that people would have just?
No.
Nope. The
It just
bigger
affected
issue
different
is,
people.
actually it affects more people. By the error, we actually affected less people than with the correct month. Like 10 more, whatever, were affected.
Yeah, so using the correct month, we've actually affected more people.
Yeah.
Than the wrong month. So it just happens to be different people is all that actually changed.
Yeah.
So what is the council's recommendation here?
I've shared my opinion. I feel that adversely affecting, I'll round up to 300 people, wet, dry, right, wrong, or indifferent, doesn't seem, that wasn't the intent and that wasn't the motive of the ordinance change. And again, I highlight the fact that the $4,500 less in revenue, which we understand is important, had it not been for the ordinance change, we wouldn't have collected that in the first place.
So Ashley, all we're doing tonight is saying we're gonna change the ordinance?
We need direction from the council, both from a staff perspective to know how we should move forward with the billing, and then if the council would like to amend the ordinance, we will put in the proper notices and draft the proper ordinance amendments for the council to consider it at the next meeting.
So when we make this motion, that's what we want it spelled out?
You're looking for direction.
We do need direction. The bills have to go out tomorrow or the next day. They're right on the cusp.
So first of all, we just wanna say we're gonna do the higher or the lower of the two, correct?
I would prefer the council to have a consensus on how they're going to correct this moving forward, because that's very difficult to communicate to the, residents if we do one thing and then we change it again the next time. I think it would be beneficial to have a consensus of the council on the direction we wish to go.
So my thought is about certainly down the road after the season, and we look at next year, probably looking at some further changes, not locking in 1 month, maybe locking in average and so on. Would adding this amendment, would we be able to change or remove that if we changed ordinance and went to an average? Because I don't know if that would be necessary to keep in there necessarily, if we actually change how we're going to lock the sewer rate in.
Yeah, you could change it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it mid-season right now.
No.
Right. So right now, we're just trying to fix this and make an amendment to the ordinance and then get through the season, and then we can address what maybe it looks like for next year.
Correct.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to make the amendment to the winter sewer charge lock rate of lesser of the two.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If not, hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Okay, can I just one more thing, Mr. Mayor? Do you need anything else from the council?
Are you asking to get the bills out? Do we need any other?
Yep, is there?
Clarification? So what I'm understanding is we are using the lesser of the two and adjusting the bill from the prior month correction.
So is this gonna take care of your problem, Stacy?
It will
No.
take care of,
291
Yep.
problems.
Right.
Because we gotta make it right for everybody.
right.
Yeah,
Not
and that's the intent.
not-
we're
not-
looking to fix it for
Not one or two, but everybody.
290 people.
Yep.
Yeah.
We knew there was gonna be problems
Yeah.
when we did this, but, if we change this, we gotta make it right for everybody.
Yep. Yes. We did, work many hours today to try to get the readings, in and accurate and all the reporting to give to you, the council. So, yes, tomorrow will be a little bit more work to, make this adjustment, but I, yes, confident that we can get it done on the software side.
Thank you.
So my question is, so are we good on this now? Or do we need an amend, or do we need to go
We will bring forward the official
amendment?
ordinance number for you to adopt, but the attorney said we will be okay, because we need to get the bills out, with the direction to make that change with the bills, and then it'll come forward in August. It doesn't take us that long to do it. So we'll get that forward, and you'll just rubber stamp it essentially in August, and then we'll move on from this.
So my question is then, with last month's billing, did people take advantage of not having to pay? Or pay a portion?
Like with the late payment thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Most people paid a portion, and we talked through them when they called, to pay that, and then that there'd be an adjustment, and most people were pretty good about that. But not a significant drop, you don't think? Okay, not, so I think most people were reasonable of paying. I'm assuming we aren't gonna waive late fees again. If that's something you would like to discuss, we should know that now too.
I don't think we need to. If we think we can get the bills out
I think we'll all
in the
work
next-
together to get the bills
in the
out
next 48
tomorrow.
hours, I think that's plenty of time. I mean, the bill is due regardless at the end of the month. To
We
me,
target the
that's,
10th too, for the bills, that's the latest, so we're still okay.
Yeah.
We've been so efficient, Stacy's been so efficient, sometimes they get out by the 3rd or 4th, so, we'll make it work though.
I think it's fine.
Anything else? New business, future council workshops.
Is that just kind of a placeholder, Sarah? Like, if
Yeah.
you feel like there's something we should
There is,
meet on?
you know, if there was something we wanted to bring up, we kinda just said if we needed to, we would bring that up, and I think I missed it on the last agenda, so I
Yeah.
put it back on
So it's something we could just, if we had something, we
Yep.
could set, we could talk about a date and a time and set it. I have nothing that I would need a workshop for.
Okay.
At this time. I do have a new business item though, if I may.
I thought you were gonna go into an open forum.
Oh, well, can I do it during open forum? Or does it have to be during, or does it have to be a new business item?
looking to get
Okay.
Any other new business? Mayor's comments and second open forum.
Brandon Voigt, 159 Lone Ridge Lane. I am looking to put in a split rail fence for decorative purposes. I'm on a corner lot. It would run across the front and just maybe 15 feet along the side. The ordinance right now is 2 feet back off of the property line. I was able to identify the property line. Right now, it would essentially put the fence in the middle of my yard. I'm asking for permission to put the fence on the property line so it looks a little less kittywampus. And it's a split rail fence. It's if you're familiar with, it's kind of it's more, I mean, to me, it's more for decoration. It's not a privacy fence or a chain link fence.
Let's tie your horse on.
Yep, yes, yep, when I bring them in.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, the fence ordinance does allow, with permission from the neighboring property owner to put the fence on the line. So we have allowed this in other circumstances. Since, you know, Brandon's a council member too, we just wanna make sure that the council officially acknowledges this. But we have allowed for this, in the past, as long as Public Works is okay with it.
Are you okay with it, Mark?
I've seen pictures of the proposal and I've talked to Brandon, actually met him up there.
And
I
it's
have no
just a
issue.
split rail fence. If it has to come down, it can come down very easy.
Yep.
So, is that a motion item?
Yes, we can put it in the file, the fence. The building official will not sign off unless it's approved by the property owner.
Looking for a motion to approve Mr. Voigt's fence on the,
I move that we allow Mr. Voigt to put his rail fence on his property line rather than in the middle of his yard.
I'll second that.
any other comments? Questions? Excuse me. Motion, if not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Thank you. Motion carried. Any other for open forum?
Mr. Mayor, kudos for the month. A special thanks to our Public Works and Police Department staff for a great fun days. Their hard work setting up, cleaning, patrolling, and assisting with the demands of the festival do not go unnoticed. Their commitment makes it enjoyable for everyone year after year. It's been a long couple of months for the office staff with excess training and calls due to the software implementation, garbage contract, water sewer bills, and fun days. They've done a great job navigating one of the busiest summers ever and still keep their smiles and great service to the public. Thank you for your hard work and perseverance.
Thank you. Mark?
I thank Jesse Garrett from Jim's Mille Lacs. I think it was a very smooth transition. I'm not quite sure about City Hall, but on our end, you know, there was a lot of worries, and I do want to thank you. We had nothing, helped in any way we could, you know, with a call or whatever, and so I think things are going good there. So, yeah.
I've got one question. So I got the big dumpster or big trash can because you didn't have a smaller one that at some point they get switched out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they should be in roughly here towards the end of the month, so whatever, one day when the route is, we'll just follow around and switch them all out.
Perfect.
That day.
leave the big one till it's,
Yeah, if I could too, we've been putting communications out too regarding the pickup from Republic. They are gonna do one more, swoop through. People can contact us too if they wanna just get their name on the list so we can try to verify those. And then I think the swap outs for you, we have a couple more days for that too, if they need to make a change. So, we're putting those communications that we're getting from the new hauler as well on our website, so, but if people have questions, have them give us a call at City Hall, we can certainly help too.
Yeah, I saw you on the 4th of July. I thought it was admirable you were out there working, as you said you would, when you said you'd be riding the first couple of times out, so, thanks, and is what I read true about the pay for 12 months in advance, get a 13-month free? Yep. I think everyone should know that and take advantage of it. I think that's a great program, so kudos to you on having that option too for the public.
Oh, I will, just one more thing. There was a question on the bill, and I think, just for the council's sake too, you gotta look at the top, it says the month, and they pay in advance, so that first bill was kind of confusing for some people, but, make sure they know they're always gonna pay a month in advance, and it had that, I think it had August on the top. Does that sound right? Yeah.
When did your bills go out? I haven't received one.
We sent them out the first, the post office is great.
Yeah, I just got mine I just got mine yesterday.
I haven't received
So.
one. I got Republic, but not Jim.
Mine was tore up, so that's from the post office. No, I will be paying.
Isn't that how that works?
It comes to me torn up because we've had that issue with our water bills too, going to the post office and then
The machine.
the machine.
I had one other question. Katie, I did math here. 1,800 on a lease is 21,600 a year. And what does that get us on a lease? Is that bumper to bumper coverage?
And with that, that's what I'm waiting to hear back
Oh.
from the rep for, is to get all those final numbers. That's just what Royalton told me for theirs.
Okay,
So like I said, I'm just waiting to hear back from the rep.
very good.
And I am, and been talking with the Sartell police chief, and he laughs, so.
One thing, Wax County has a whole bunch of those Durangos for the deputies, and they are not a good, they have a lot of motor problems, lot. So, just throwing that out.
If you get the Hemis are the issues.
No, the 3.6s are terrible.
I heard the Hemis have been, their engine's been exploding. But then if you look at maybe the fire truck could be electric too.
Maybe.
That'd be hydro-powered, but.
All right.
It's moving on.
Anything else come before this meeting? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? All for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Meeting adjourned. Now we gotta stick around yet?
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Has anybody made contact?
Not that I know of.
We're planning on brief, but that's why the 2 minutes and then we're gonna hit it.
Like I said, our internet